About 10, 11 years ago, I decided that I was kind of bored at home. My boys were getting a little bit older, so I decided I was going to start a business, and I started painting chalkboards. And a friend of mine and I sat down one day and she said, "Why don't we call it the Decorating Diva? That sounds great." And so from there, the Decorating Diva was born, and I babied the Decorating Diva just like one of my children. It was my personal baby. I grew it, I nurtured it, I took care of it. I had so much fun with it. I started refinishing furniture of my own and posting pictures, which turned into, "Hey, can you paint this coffee table for me?" Absolutely, I'd love to. Then I started going to different garage sales, and the side of the road would go junking every Sunday with the kids. And I'd find things on the side of the road, I'd paint them, and I'd sell them, and things just kind of snowballed from there. At one point, we started doing Junkapaloozas here, which I rented a circus tent one year, and we probably had, I don't know, 150, 200 pieces of furniture, and people lined up down the driveway. It was so much fun. I had a storefront at one point. Then when my children got a little bit older, I started working outside of the home on other people's homes, cabinets, interior design, some subcontracting work, things like that. And it was so much fun. I got to get out of the house. I got to do what I loved. I really thought that this is how my life was supposed to be. Everything was in place. My marriage was in a good place. My kids were in a good place. I was having fun with my friends. And then one day it wasn't. On June 15th of 2020, I had a hysterectomy, and from then on have had horrible complications. But on that day, the day that I went in for surgery, I had my life planned out until March at least of the following year of, jobs and vacations and things with the kids and just life. Everything was planned out. I was going to return back to work in 2 weeks, and that was not God's plan for my life. That is not what ended up happening. That is not how my life was supposed to be. I thought it was, and it wasn't. About 2 weeks after my hysterectomy, everything had been going great. I was going to return to work in a couple of days, maybe 1 or 2 days later, I can't remember. One night I ended up having a complication that required an emergency surgery. The drive to the emergency room was very scary. I remember we called and talked to my parents. I called and talked to some friends, but we did not talk to God. We did not pray about it. And I just remember being in the emergency room alone because it was COVID, and I remember being so scared. I don't know that I've ever been that truly terrified in my life, because I'm a planner. Everything in my life is planned out, and not just everything planned out. I like to plan ahead of my plan. I want to plan A, B, C, D, A1, all the way down. I like everything in order. And so when I'm walking into a situation, I've already made plans for anything that I think could happen during that situation. So when this big surprise happened, it completely terrified me. I had the surgery at about 10 o'clock at night, and everything went great. I ended up staying 2 days instead of 1, but everything was fine. I was discharged, and then I got a really bad infection. And so I ended up going to Houston. It was still during COVID, and I was there for 4 days by myself with a horrible infection. And that was, again, terrifying because I'm alone. I have this infection. I'm having all these tests run. It's very scary. And nobody could come up. Nobody could even come in the room, not even hardly the nurses. It was a very, very scary time to be in the hospital. So I spent several days in the hospital in Houston due to this infection, which I then later had more tests run, more problems were found. I ended up having a very lengthy surgery that caused more problems, and everything just snowballed from there. And from that one surgery, from this one hysterectomy, I've now had 10 surgeries and spent 40 days inpatient in the hospital. We've been to Seattle, Washington for treatment. We've been to Johns Hopkins for treatment. Of course, Houston. We've been to Dallas. We've done anything and everything that we know to do. We went to a visit to see one of those specialists, and all of a sudden I just am in just excruciating pain. And to this day, that pain has not gone away. There's some nerve damage that they found out through various testing. But the biggest issue that I've had to deal with is this pain. This pain that keeps me in the bed, this pain that I would do anything to get relief from, because it's just absolutely the worst pain you can imagine. And pain is a very relative term. People think, oh, you're in pain, you can do it, just suck it up, just toughen up, just push through. Well, there are times and there are people and there are issues that can't be pushed through on. I saw wound care specialists, I saw plastic surgeons. Our life was medical appointments, day in and day out. For 2 years, we were scared. We were extremely scared. So we ended up taking the route of seeking help from a pain management physician. And from there, the treatments that were done were simply medications to get me out of pain, which those medications are all opioids. They're all mind altering. They're all emotion altering. They all affect your mental health. I couldn't think, I couldn't sleep. Everything was just completely thrown off. I ended up doing an IV treatment of an anesthesia that they use. And it's about a 4 or 5 hour IV infusion. And it made me have a complete break from reality. The combination of that treatment plus the medications that I was already on, I completely lost touch. I started having these recurring nightmares, 2 of them that were just absolutely horrifying nightmares that nobody could convince me that they were not real. They were very, very real to me, so much so that I didn't believe anybody. I didn't believe my husband. I didn't believe my parents. I didn't believe my brother or sisters. I didn't believe anybody. My husband and my family had to have conversations with me that nobody should have to have with their wife or their children. All of that led to me being admitted to Methodist Hospital in Houston for these horrific nightmares that I continued to have every night, the same nightmares. And so they admitted me to Methodist, and they sent a preacher by to see me. He came on the first day. I didn't really, pay much attention. He came on the second day, and this is still during COVID, so I'm by myself, but fortunately they now have visiting hours. So Jamie can come during the day, he just can't spend the night. Jamie left me with some earbuds, and I put them in one morning, and it was actually the morning that the pastor came and talked to me for the 3rd time. I put them in, and Hold On to Me came on, and I stood in the window of the hospital by myself, and I listened to that, and I thought, I do need somebody to hold on to me, because I can't hold myself up right now, and that's okay. But I have to know that I need help. I need someone to hold on to and to hold on to me. And Jamie came to the room, and then about 5-10 minutes later, the preacher came into the room. And I'm talking to him, and I'm still having these horrible dreams, and I start telling him I don't understand why. Why am I having these dreams? Why is this happening? And in the same breath, I feel guilty for asking, why is this happening to me? I don't want to go against God. I don't want to question God. And I feel like that's what I'm doing. And he said something that kind of caught me off guard for a minute. He said, do you think you're better than Jesus Christ? And I said, no, absolutely not. And he said, well, he asked the same thing on the cross. He said, why? That does not make you question God. That does not make you a bad Christian. That makes you a human being, which is exactly what Jesus was as well. And every single emotion that you're feeling in your life, fear, anxiety, all of the emotions, loneliness that people feel, the good and the bad, Jesus has felt all of those. And he still has this plan for your life where, yes, you will have to feel these emotions, but you don't have to feel them alone. You don't have to feel them by yourself. And that really changed a lot of the way that I started thinking. It helped me to be able to go to God in prayer, and just that peace, that warm feeling that came over me that just hasn't left. That's what that meant to me. I don't ever want to be that scared again in my life. And I'm glad that I don't ever have to be, because I don't ever have to be alone like I was that day in the hospital, because I talk to God now, and I talk to God on a regular basis, and I'm comfortable with it. And that has just completely changed everything. And it is so comforting to me to know that I don't ever have to be that afraid again, truly afraid. I don't ever have to have fear like that again. And that is a very good feeling to have. That sense of peace that I got that day hasn't left. It hasn't gone away. Do I fully think that I put 100% trust in the Lord at all times? Absolutely not. That is impossible to do. Nobody can do that. But I do find that more and more that I catch myself saying, instead of worrying about this, just pray about it. Instead of worrying, just pray about it. And that has really changed me. I also feel like I know what's important now. I built up this business that I poured my heart and soul into, that I put above God, I put above my family, I put above my friends, I put it above everything, and it's gone. It's no longer here, but God's here, and my family's here, and my kids are here. I want to really make a conscious effort to pay more attention to the people that really matter in my life, and not the things that aren't going to matter. If your world falls apart tomorrow and all you have is your circle and your God, then that's what you need to focus on, and that's what I'm going to really try to do. Throughout this whole process, there have been several people who have just been absolutely amazing and wonderful. My husband, I don't know how I could have done any of this without him. That man he's been through hell and back. He has seen things and heard things and made milkshakes at 2 a.m. because that's all I would eat for days. And he always did it with a smile on his face and love in his heart and patience. He never got angry with me. He never got frustrated, and I was frustrated with myself. I don't know how he still manages to not get frustrated with me. But he truly has been my everything through all of this. And my kids. My kids have also seen and heard things that they shouldn't have had to see, but I feel like now that that is going to make them better men one day. And I am so thankful that they both have witnessed how well their dad has taken care of me, because they will never forget that. And I know that they have had the best example at being a husband and a father. And I'm very thankful for that. My parents, they have seen, they've had many a late night, early morning, middle of the night phone calls. They don't complain. They don't make me feel like I'm bothering them. They listen, and they've been here for me and for Jamie and for the kids and my friends. I don't feel like I have to call them out by name, but I do have a few very dear friends who I may have gone months without talking to, or some weeks, but they always knew what I needed when I needed it. And I do feel like the people that are left in my life are who God has placed in my life. Because I heard a song a while back, There Was Jesus, and one of the verses says, when the life I built came crashing to the ground and the friends I had were nowhere to be found. And that happened. I get that, they did. Friends left and my business left, but there was Jesus. There he was the whole time. My husband and I, we play canasta every morning like old people do, and we've been playing for several years now. And we started listening to her in the mornings when we were playing canasta. And one morning I paid extra close attention to rescue. And I resonated with that because I do feel like God put several people here to rescue me. My family, my husband. I feel like I was rescued, and I feel like God knew who to keep in my life and who to place in my life, and it all is for a reason. I do have really, really big things planned for the future. I'm not going anywhere. I'm coming back. I'm not going to say yet what my plans are, but I promise you they are big and they are wonderful and they are centered around God from here on out.